Today we're going to make plywood gift boxes that are really easy to build. This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. So my friend Louise Hazel is an Olympian and has a really cool gym in LA, and she asked if I could create some gift boxes so that she could deliver some care packages to her clients. Now I really like her branding and wanted to make a box that was nice enough to live up to it, but she may need quite a few of these, so I also wanted to keep the design really simple and easy to make. We're going to make the boxes out of 3/4 inch thick birch veneer plywood. I really like the look of birch, but any furniture grade plywood would work. I designed these boxes so they can be made with just two basic power tools, a circular saw and a drill. I used 99-cent spring clamps to clamp a trim board to use as a straight edge to the plywood itself, and this guides my circular saw, ensuring that I get nice straight cuts. I started by cutting a strip of plywood 14 inches wide, which will be used for the top and bottom panels of the box. I then cut a 5-inch wide strip and a 2-inch wide strip to be used for the side panels. A full-size table saw can make this process a lot easier, but I like showing that these types of projects are entirely possible using just the most basic of power tools. With all my strips cut, I can now focus on the cross cuts, and for these, I'm going to clamp down a speed square to guide my circular saw on nice perpendicular cuts. These boxes will be about 15 by 15 by 7 inches, but you could use the same system to make boxes in a variety of different sizes. After cutting the top and bottom panels, I then took the 5-inch wide strip and cut 4 pieces of that were the same length as the top and bottom panels. I'm going to double up these two side panels so that they're 2 layers of plywood thick, but I'm going to stagger them a little bit so that they nicely accommodate the bottom panel and create the overlap that keeps the top from sliding off. I was very conservative with the wood glue because I just don't want to have to clean up any messy joints from glue that squeezes out. Plus, there's enough surface area to create a nice strong connection. Once again, I just used the 99-cent spring clamps to hold the 2 pieces of plywood together while the glue cures. While the glue is setting up, I started working on the lid of the box. Now all I'm going to do here is just take those 2-inch strips and wrap them around the top panel. I'm going to use 1.5 and 2-inch long finish screws to screw these pieces together. Now I don't want the plywood to split, so I pre-drilled holes just a little bit smaller than the screw just to ensure that the plywood doesn't rupture. I started with the 4 screws that screw the 2-inch wide strips together and then moved the lid towards the edge of my work surface so that I'd have a better angle for accessing the lower screws, which will attach these side 2-inch wide strips to the top of the lid. I drove the head of the screws just a little bit past the surface of the plywood because I'm just going to come in with wood putty and cover them up. Once I had driven in all the screws, I then took some wood putty and used that to just seal up any hairline cracks between the plywood pieces. I also used the putty to cover over the heads of the screws. Now, I just use my finger to push it in and smooth it out as best as possible, but once it dries, I'll just take some sandpaper and sand it nice and smooth. While the putty is curing, let me tell you about the sponsor for this video. This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, an epic video game that is free to play and is available for both mobile devices and PCs. You can enter the epic world of Teleria, where dark elves meet the Sacred Order and the Bannerlords are in an endless war with the undead hordes. Ooh, epic. Collect, equip, and train, and even upgrade your team of heroes in order to start the journey of a lifetime. Raid Shadow Legends will take you to a world of dark fantasy and realism. So add a little adventure to your life and click on the special link in the description of this video within the next 30 days. And if you're a new player, you will get 100,000 pieces of silver and a free champion. That's right, you get special awards that'll get you farther in the game faster. Click on the treasure chest up here to get these rewards. Challenge yourself in ongoing tournaments, compete against the entire raid community while fighting the Spider's Den, Ice Golem's Peak, the Almighty Fire Knight, or the Notorious Dragon. And now in Raid Patch 1.15, which is coming in May, you'll be able to compete in a brand new arena tournament. And you can earn points according to your tier and win awesome rewards in the local and global tournament. So just click on the link in the description and get playing. Alright, back to the build. Once the putty had fully dried, I then sanded it with 220 grit sandpaper. An orbital sander can save you a little bit of time sanding down the putty, but it only took me about 8 to 10 minutes to do it all by hand. Now that the lid was assembled, I was ready to get back to the base of the box. I removed the spring clamps and then placed these side panels so that they overlap the bottom panel. I placed the lid on top, and now I could take really accurate field measurements to see just how long I needed to cut the other side panels. I gave the freshly cut ends just a quick light sanding to remove any splinters, and then marked the locations where I'm going to pre-drill holes and drive in some screws. Now, because I doubled up the other side panels, I have a whole 1.5 inches of plywood end grain to screw into. I used 4 screws to attach each one of these panels, and I just measured 1 inch in from the sides for the locations. Now, I like doing this process with the lid on because it just ensures that everything's going to line up really nice. I then flipped the box over and drove some 1.5 inch long finish screws through the bottom panel and into that overlapping side panel. If you don't want to wood putty the holes, another option would be to use short pieces of dowels to create plugs, or to use some nicer looking stainless steel star head screws. But wood putty and finish screw, pretty easy. Now, I don't mind a little bit of plywood end grain showing, and there definitely will be some on the sides of the box, but there's so much of it on the top, I thought painting it would mask all the joints and create a nice two-toned look. So I just used Rust-Oleum 2X spray paint in flat black. After sanding the base of the box with 220 grit sandpaper, I then coated it with 1 coat of Varathane water-based polyurethane in crystal clear matte. Now, the box is perfectly fine as it is. It has a nice two-tone look and the lid fits on nicely. But I was interested in experimenting with the new shape or origin that I got and wanted to see if I could engrave some of Louise's branding into the top. Now, obviously not everybody has an expensive router like this, but stencils and spray paint would work just as well. The shaper is a really interesting tool. You put down this domino looking tape, and then you actually can take a graphic file from Photoshop or Illustrator, put that into the machine, and then it tracks this tape, and then you can actually show exactly where you want this digital file engraved on the surface of the material. It's really easy to use, it's really expensive, but it's a pretty fantastic tool that you'll see in some of my custom projects in the future. But once again, don't blow me up and tell me how this makes it not DIY. There's lots of other ways you can engrave things using a traditional router or just stencils. The box looks great. It's way more sturdy than the cardboard alternative, which is great because she's going to put some weights in there, and it's pretty inexpensive to make. Now, if you really want to batch out a lot of these, you could do this on a table saw or on a full-size CNC machine. I thought it was kind of cool how we routed through the spray paint and you could see the wood, but then I decided that just black on black spray paint would look way cooler. I'll put a link to Louise's Instagram page in the description box below. Be sure to check it out. She does some really cool workouts. And thanks for watching. Oh, and also if any of you find this helpful or end up making these for any of your small businesses or anything like that, just let me know. All right, thanks everybody. Bye.